Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
This is Mr. Chris Claremont, a legend.
Melanie goes,
Tired.
how's it going, all you Minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for your overviews of all these books coming out from Marvel Comics this week. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, before going any further, I do want to thank David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us advance copies of these books. All these books are due out in the direct market or book market on October 3rd or 4th, depending on where you get your books. So we've got some more Mighty Marvel Masterworks. I love those books. Some new series, ongoing series, and then a big, thick collection of Ed Brisson's run on Ghost Rider. So let's go ahead and start. We'll start with the Mighty Marvel Masterworks. And as always, I leave timestamps in the description of the video so you can jump around. Okay, we are kicking off the week with Mighty Marvel Masterworks, X-Men Volume 3, Divided We Fall. And the standard edition is over here on the right-hand side. The direct market cover is over here on the left-hand side. And here's what the spines look like. And then the back's looking different because the direct markets are always limited. Like this is volume 27 of a special limited printing collector's edition. Meaning that this is 27 of the Mighty Marvel Masterworks. We have 27 already? That's crazy. And here we have the standard edition. But everything in the book is the same. So let's focus on this and talk a little bit about this. And then my daughters and I can do a family review. So you have the X-Men, issues 20 through 29. Roy Thomas, Werner Roth is the penciler. You have inkers Dick Ayers, John Tartaglione, and then lettering by Art Simic and Sam Rosen. And editor Stan Lee, and special thanks to Ralph Macchio. And then your table of contents right here, where you're going to find each of these particular issues. So we kick it off with X-Men number 20, which is really a big historical moment. Not because Eunice the Untouchable and the Blob are pretending to be X-Men to rob a bank, but because we meet the character of Lucifer. And Lucifer is the villain that took away Professor Xavier's ability to walk. So in this issue, you get to learn exactly how he lost the use of his legs and why he's all part of this coming of Dominus, which the Dominus storyline continues into the very next issue. So it's almost like a two-parter. But you don't really need to have read issue 20 to see what's going on in issue 21. This is when Roy Thomas is writing these particular stories, by the way. So you're going to see a lot of dialogue, more so sometimes than Stan Lee used to do. We have the Count Nefaria story where he puts together a team of villains of the Porcupine, the Unicorn, the Uncanny Unicorn at that, by the way, Plant Man, and who else is on his team? The Scarecrow and the Eel, to take down members of the X-Men, to capture them. And that's what he does. This one continues into the next story arc as well. I love the fact that this is the Uncanny Unicorn. Who would have thought that years later they would have taken that particular adjective to describe the X-Men? And this is the issue with the Locust right here. But a guy wearing a suit that can control, you guessed it, Locust. Although, this one always tripped me out when I read it the first time, because I was wondering, how in the world did Professor Xavier fool them into thinking that he could walk with just that cane? Marvel Girl goes through some costume changes in this particular volume, too. And this is, there he is, Kukulkan. It's all part of the El Tigre storyline. But this is when Marvel Girl starts wearing these little pointed masks here. And the Mimic makes a return, but he's not alone. He brings in the Banshee and the Ogre. And one of them gets to join the team later on. And you could probably guess who. The Mimic does stick around for a little bit. There's the fight here with the Super Adaptoid that wraps up this particular volume. And then the extra that you get is the unused cover to issue 25. These Mighty Marvel Masterworks retail for $15.99. And this particular volume has 216 pages. X-23 Deadly Regenesis, not to be confused with Deadly Genesis. This is one of those books that they've done with Gambit and they've done with Wolverine Patch, where they go back to a particular time in the character's life, and it's supposed to take place during that time. This one is written by Erica Schultz. Edgar Salazar is the artist, and the colorist is Carlos Lopez. So this is during the time when she was leaving Utopia. So it's right when she was a member of not just the X-Men, but she also was a member of X-Force. As a matter of fact, she does a really good job explaining what her new life is like here. So she's leaving the team to kind of get to know or find herself out there, as most people her age do. But she happens to be a mutant with the ability to pop out claws from her hand and her feet. So she's having these flashbacks as she's trying to get away. But much like every superhero that tries to get away from the superheroics of life, she is haunted by her past. And also some villains show up, some old villains and some new villains. So here we have the return of Kimura, who was in charge of the facility back in the day. So she was in charge of her programming and commanded X-23 to be the assassin that she was. And all that comes back to haunt her. And we also meet another villain. This villain's name is Haystack. And Haystack has a past with X-23, because in one of X-23's assassination missions, X-23 killed Haystack's brother, and Haystack has sworn revenge, and that's why they're teaming up with the character of Kimura. Now, during this assassination, she was being not only controlled by Kimura, but it was the Kingpin who commanded this particular assassination. So that comes into play too. So it's a reunion with Kimura, even though this is taking place during that particular era where she was leaving the X-Men or leaving Utopia for a while before coming back as all-new Wolverine and facing off against a new villain named Haystack. That's what this book is primarily about. And of course, there's a couple of surprises in here. Who shows up, and does Haystack stay a villain? Now let's look in the back for some extras. Censoring that final page there because that is a beautiful cover by Aka. And then we have some design variants there by Jan Bazaldua, Mike Choi, and a variant by Peach Momoko, Gerald Parel right there. And then the back of the book. The book retails for $17.99 and it has 128 pages. X-Men Volume 4. This is the Gerry Duggan era of X-Men. And here's what it collects, but let's go ahead and open it up. Now, just in case, if you haven't read volumes 1 through 3, or you're not caught up with X-Men, this stuff might come as a spoiler to you. So just in case, mine are spoilers before I open this up. Okay, let's go ahead and open it up. This is the Hickman stuff, and this is the Gerry Duggan issues. So you have Stefano Caselli doing the artwork from issues 19 through 21, and Joshua Cassara doing the artwork from 22 to 24, with Federico Billi and Marte Gracia and Dee Cunefe. And then the lettering by Clayton Cowles, and then the cover art right there. The design of the books by Tom Mueller, who's been designing this era of Krakoa for a while. So this collects issues 19 through 24. Now, this is really interesting because at the same time that this was coming out, Carol Danvers was dealing with the Brood in her issues of Captain Marvel. So yes, I am talking about the Brood. The Sleazoids are back. So there's a distress call from Corsair in the previous issue where he was calling for help, and the X-Men go up there and help. Of course, it's a team led by Cyclops and Forge, and Talon is there, Magic, Penance, Firestar, I love her new costumes, Iceman, Sync, and Jean Grey. It's a huge team, because we are dealing with the Brood. And if you're not familiar with the Brood, hope you've seen Alien, because that's pretty much what they do. They are able to lay eggs inside of people and infect them with their Brood offspring, and then either take over their body, like they did on, what was that? It's one of my favorite Brood stories. It's the Earthfall. That's what it is. It's the Chris Claremont and Mark Silvestri. So they do find Corsair impregnated by one of the Brood, so they immediately have to do an operation. And this is Talon, by the way. I'm not going to spoil who she is, but most of you probably are guessing, wait a minute, why does she have two claws? Yes, that all came in the previous issues of X-Men. Now, there was a character that is related to the Brood, and he's going to play a big part in all this. This is Brew, and his role in all of this is about to change. So it's the X-Men dealing with the Brood, and Brood I always think that their stories deliver. I'm a big fan of those characters, and as long as they use them from time to time, not all the time. And if you've been missing villains for a while, well, fear not, because here comes the villains in this particular issue. This is issue 22. And it's not just the X-Men villains. You also have MODOK riding around with Nimrod. So there's a big team up here. A little bit of spoilers in here that I skipped, but this is Sentinel Zero. And speaking of Sentinels, you're about to meet Tony Stark's Sentinels right here, the Iron Man Sentinels. And they kind of make a joke about this stuff, about how how Tony Stark's or Iron Man has been juicing up, as they call it. And if you're a fan of the character of Pog, you're a Pog, well, fear not, because he makes a return in this final issue, in issue 24. How is the character of Wilson Fisk on Krakoa? Well, that's where things get interesting. So I hope you're reading the pages of Daredevil as well as X-Men, because this explains how he got there, and then Daredevil, of course, explains the big overall picture. Here's all the covers, and then, of course, the variant covers. I love these. I hope one day they actually make trading cards, because I was a big fan. Like anybody in the 90s that was collecting X-Men, big fans of those trading cards. The Jim Lee set. It's a nice homage cover right here to the classic X-Men issue by, I think it was Gil Kane that drew that originally. And then other covers, variant covers back here. Lots of variant covers. Hope those make a return. Do they have those, like the box, or the, what's it called, the corner boxes? Do they have those out? If you're reading comics in single issues, let me know. This book retails for $17.99, and it has 168 pages. And here we are at the portion of the video where we are looking at the spines of the books coming out this week. And also a reminder to smash that like button if you haven't yet. And if you haven't subscribed, please think about subscribing. Alright, let's keep going with the overviews. Good old Stephen Strange has returned. Doctor Strange, the life of Doctor Strange. And if you've not been reading JED MACKAY's Doctor Strange, oh, you're missing out. It was so good. And, of course, it started with a big event, and then it led into Strange, and now it's Doctor Strange. And I really enjoy that title. It's kind of a joke. So this is in the aftermath of having Stephen Strange come back. So if you've not read the stuff in Strange and you want to find out for yourself what's been going on, by all means, skip this and go to Ghost Rider. Or don't forget to hit that like button too before you do. But stick around if you don't care about spoilers, or if you already knew what was going to happen. I'm not really going to spoil much about what happens here, but more so what happened previously to talk about the things here. So Stephen Strange has just been gone, right? I'll just say he was indisposed of. And now he's back. He's back with his lady, his wife, Clea, and together they're dealing with the different aspects of being Sorcerer Supreme. She's Sorcerer Supreme of the underworld, of the darkness, and he's Sorcerer Supreme of Earth. And he's back reunited with Wong and Bats. Everybody's happy. Everything is going great. And he's catching up on a lot of things. You know, all the heroes needing different kinds of help with the supernatural. Dr. Doom comes in and says hello. And he's trying to perform an exorcism that didn't go right, trying to help out Daredevil. And I love this, that, you know, you see the importance of the character of Stephen Strange in the Marvel Universe and just how much he is wanted and needed. There is a big thing that happens here with the character of Agamon that will lead into the next story arc, and with pretty much what this continues into, because I feel like this continues into the next set of stories, so this probably is about a 10-issue story arc. Now, what else is in here is here we go, Agents of Wand backup story. So just in case, Let me give credit where credit is due. Pasquale Ferry does the artwork for issues 1 through 3 and issue number 5, and then Andy McDonald does issue number 4. However, there's a couple backup stories like Andy McDonald doing this freakout issue here, and Close Encounters of a Strange Kind is written by Amy Chu and drawn and inked by Toki Tokoro. So this is a backup story about the Agents of Wand, and they're like a part of or spin-off really of Shield. And some of them went rogue in the previous arc, but this is about the Agents of Wand that are trying to help out the world with the supernatural, with Dr. Z there. You have Pandora, Peters, and then of course Wong. And they find out something horrible that's about to happen to the life of Doctor Strange and how it's going to affect everybody. You have Moon Knight. I love the fact that he comes in asking for some help and he knows when to step away. This is where he gets a little confusing, but I love these kind of puzzles where they run into Nightmare and he's kind of speaking in riddles. He's like, wait, please stop. No more torturing. I did what you demanded. I let your children alone. And Doctor Strange is like, what are you talking about? Demanded my children. So it leads into more of a mystery because there's been a murder and they're trying to figure out who has killed this really powerful being. This I really enjoyed. This is a walk down memory lane in a weird encounter with Dormammu where he comes in and you can just see how much respect they have for each other. Like, Doctor Strange still doesn't trust the character of Dormammu, but you can see how much respect they have for each other's powers. So they just play a game of chess and they talk about old times, all the big battles that they've had, including one battle that didn't really involve Doctor Strange, but the fight against the Guardians of the Galaxy in, what was that called? The Last Annihilation. Then you have the Agents of Wand back again for this particular story. This is in issue number 4. And Agents of Wand, by the way, just like S.H.I.E.L.D., stands for Wizardry, Alchemy, Necromancy Department. That's what they stand for. And then the final issue that's collected in here, so this collects just the first 5 issues, is a wedding. They're going to the wedding of Clea's mother. That's right, Umar, the Unrelenting, is getting married. And you can find out who she's being married to, and the cliffhanger of this might have some people going, what the hell does that mean? This was a lot of fun. I really liked this book. Almost got the seal of approval, but not yet. I guess you can figure out what got the seal of approval. Here's some variant covers, all the way in the back. Some of them in full splash page, and some of them in thumbnails. Really enjoying everything that he's done. These are the Strange comics I was talking about. Really have been enjoying everything that JED MACKAY has been doing. This book retails for $17.99, and it has 136 pages. Last, but certainly not least, is Ghost Rider. This is by Ed Brisson, and it's one of these really thick books, kind of like an epic collection, honestly. Kind of get you an idea of the thickness of the book. This one has 312 pages and retails for $34.99. And you could probably guess that this got this seal of approval. Just because it's an all-in-one collection here that collects the stuff that Ed Brisson did. So here are your credits. You have Aaron Cooter supplying the early artwork, Juan Freghetti doing some of the artwork there, but also providing the artwork for the King in Black Ghost Rider. You have also the artwork of Roland Boschi and the artwork of Craig Young and John Lucas. So what is collected in here? Some of the variants, by the way, are on the opposite side of the standard edition cover. This collects Ghost Rider 1 through 7. That is the 2019 series. And then Absolute Carnage, Symbiote of Vengeance, one-shot. Spirits of Ghost Rider, Mother of Demons, one-shot. King in Black, Ghost Rider 2099, one-shot. And then material from Incoming number 1 and Marvel Comics Presents number 6. The other reason I gave this a seal of approval, or my choice of the pick of the week, is because, oh my gosh, the mapping on this is phenomenal. Because I worry sometimes whenever there is an interference by an event, it kind of makes the storyline just drop, and you have to go and read that event. And they put that stuff sometimes in the back, but this time around they put it in a proper reading order. And they kind of give you a heads up about what's going on through these pages, because just looking at this gorgeous artwork, by the way, by Aaron Cooter, will probably pique some people's interest, but to kind of give you the plot synopsis, during this particular time, you have the return of Johnny Blaze. Johnny Blaze is now the king of hell during this era. He can still turn into Ghost Rider, but he is now ruling over hell. Danny Ketch is here in the human world, also has the spirit of vengeance, also can turn into a Ghost Rider, but owns a bar. Decided to kind of lay low for a while. He bought a bar, and this is Emma, one of his bartenders. But he still rides out there, trying to defeat demons and monsters. So they have a team up. Johnny comes out of the underworld to team up with Danny Ketch. So both Ghost Riders are fighting demons. And it's a really interesting book because when Johnny Blaze is in charge of hell, there's all these things that are happening. You still see the character of Mephisto, even though he's not ruler of hell. All these things are happening in the background where he has to keep fighting. You can't trust anybody in hell. So some of the demons are escaping. So Johnny Blaze has to come to Earth or to the human world to get them back into hell. Danny's visiting his mother's grave right here, and she pays him a visit and gives him a warning that there's something wrong with Johnny. It's not just him, because he seemed really aggressive during that team up. It didn't seem like Johnny Blaze. Not that Johnny Blaze always had a cool head or anything, but it just seemed like he went a little too far. And she's like, you're right. You have to stop him. You have to stop Johnny. And we also see the caretaker here finding some new books about the spirits of vengeance. And then you get this. I love this stuff. This is the coming soon in this particular series. Sadly, the series was canceled, but the stories continued in those one-shots I was talking about. So it's a good thing that he got to wrap up a lot of the loose ends. So eventually, yeah, it does come to play that both of them have to fight each other because Danny doesn't believe that Johnny is no longer hunting demons. He believes that now Johnny has moved on to humans. He's hunting humans instead of demons. But Johnny Blaze keeps seeing demons. So there's a fight between both Ghost Riders. And it leads into betrayal where Danny is left without powers. And what he does is he gets together with the caretaker to go to Limbo, of all places, to face off against Belasco because he needs powers to go and help Johnny because he thinks something's really wrong with Johnny. And he has to fight off against this, what is necrosis, I think is what this being is called, the spirit of corruption. And there's a little bit of a twist with what happens in that particular story. And again, it gets interrupted by the Absolute Carnage story, but it continues the story that Ed Brisson was telling. This is the only thing that I think he was building up that unfortunately didn't happen, at least in this book. Who knows, maybe later on. But it's the return of Lilith. And I guess if you've been reading Benjamin Percy's series, you know he's tying that particular storyline up a little bit with Lilith. There's Jack-o'-lantern, and then you have the character of Blackheart. There's a couple of other surprises that come in here. There's an awesome reunion with the Heart of Darkness cast. Punisher, Wolverine, and Ghost Rider. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed this book, and I was hoping that it would continue because it is stellar. And Aaron Cooter's art is just so good. It's got that right amount of detail. It kind of reminds me of the cover artist, which is, of course, the legendary Arthur Adams. It's very, very nice touch. 312 pages. Let's look at the Ghost Rider 2099. So here's the story of Zero and Johnny Blaze in the future and how this Ghost Rider got reactivated. And if you're not familiar, Ghost Rider 2099 was a character in the 90s. He was one of the 2099 characters. And not really, I can't remember exactly how many issues his series lasted. This is a super special, so it's a bigger one-shot. And here's your... This is really handy. It talks about the different places across the 616 universe and how hell is a place in the 616 universe, because it can get really confusing whenever you mention characters like Mephisto or the Devil or Satan or Lucifer. That's a different Lucifer in the pages of that Mighty Marvel Masterworks X-Men. So I'm glad that they broke it down here, kind of telling you that it's another place besides Limbo, and there's different sections of it. Variant covers all the way in the back, some in splash pages, some in thumbnail pages. 312 pages, $34.99. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, don't forget to check out our sponsor,
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count of each of these books. Let me know in the comments down below which ones you're planning on picking up, which ones you hope we get a big omnibus edition of one day, and what other books you're picking up this week that did not come out this week. So leave all those comments down below. If you have any questions, leave those down below. Smash that like button on the way out. Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.